Okay, so now we have a good understanding of how and why and when we use bar charts or column charts, and so we're going to do that using this data that we have. You've seen this data before. These are my data for the weather around here. You have your own copy of data like this, either for a different city or maybe you're using the same as me. And let's quickly review and refresh when we use a column or bar chart and what we need to produce a bar chart. What we need is we need something that's in categories, and we know that we're treating months as categories, right? And then we need something that's been measured. And we have multiple variables here that we could be plotting. It could be our daily average low temperature, our daily average high temperature, or even our precipitation per month. We could make a bar chart for any one of these, but we're going to do our daily average high temperature. That's what we're going to start with today. And I'm going to show you two different methods for doing this. The first one is really straightforward and fast, really easy. You're going to love it. The second one is a little bit more complicated. It uses a complicated interface, but it's going to be important because it's going to help us master some skills that we'll use later when we're modifying charts. So we'll start with the easy version. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the data that I want to plot. And so I've already selected daily high temperature. I'm now going to hold down the control key while I click and drag to select a second column. And so here's another keyboard shortcut for you. And this is a really important one when you're making charts in Excel. We need to be able to select columns. Sometimes we need to select columns that aren't right next to each other. If we're plotting columns right next to each other, it's easy. We just click and drag. But we can't always do that. Sometimes we need that column and this other column. In that case, we hold Control while we click and drag. We can select two separate columns that aren't right next to each other. Now, in one of your recent knowledge check quizzes, what you found is that you found that our plotting tools, our chart tools in Excel, are in the Insert menu. So we're going to go right there. We're going to click on our Insert tab, and we're going to look around on this ribbon, and we have all these chart options here. We're going to find what looks like what we want, and here we go. Insert column or bar chart. Remember, we're actually putting something into our spreadsheet, so that's why this is in the Insert menu. So we're going to click on that, and we get a whole bunch of options. We're just going to pick the simplest option, the 2D bar chart. It's calling it a clustered column, but because we only have one measured variable, we don't have clustered columns. We only have our one column here. So we're making a simple bar chart, even though we're using that menu for the clustered bar chart. And look how easy that was. Just a few steps here. I selected the data. I went to the Insert menu and inserted the chart. I chose the right chart type, and boom, we got what we wanted. Really, really nice here. Now, there may be some things we would want to change about this chart, and we're going to talk about that really soon. But for just getting a quick view of our data, this is fantastic. And you can see it's a nice looking chart, too. We know that our temperatures in this area peak in July. They're highest in June, July, and August, and then they're lower at other times of the year. Beautiful. Really nice way to see and understand these kinds of data. So we've seen the easy and straightforward way to make this chart, and now we're going to do it in a slightly more complicated way, but it's a way that's going to show you an important interface that we're going to need to work with, which is the data interface for a chart. Notice that I'm clicked outside of our data range, and that's going to be important. We want to be in an empty cell away from our data to be able to do this. And so we're going to go to the same place. We're going to go into our Insert menu, and we're going to choose this same chart type. But the key thing is I haven't given Excel any data yet, and so it doesn't know what we're plotting. This now is a completely blank bar chart that we're going to create. So let's see how we can add data to this. We'll right-click, and we'll choose Select Data from that drop-down menu. And now we get the Select Data Source interface for charts. And again, this is an important tool for you to become familiar with because we're going to use it to modify our charts in the future and to fix little problems that might pop up if Excel isn't giving us a chart that looks exactly how we want it. So we're just going to do the same thing now. We've got our cursor in the chart data range, and we're going to select our months column, and then again using Control, we're going to select our daily high temp column. And you can see in the background, Excel is starting to build this chart as we're working here. But what we have is we have our horizontal axis labels, and this is what we want. We know on that horizontal axis, we want the months. And this is showing us, yeah, we've got those months there. And then what data is going to be plotted? Our daily high temperature data are going to be plotted. So that's perfect. Let's take a look. And boom, we get an identical looking plot that we produced a different way. And again, the way we got there is we right-clicked, we selected data, and then we added our data in. This is important to know. It's important to realize this interface exists because sometimes we want to modify the data that are plotted in our chart. And rather than starting over, maybe we just want to right-click and we go into the Select Data menu. So that's why I wanted to show you this, these two ways of producing column or bar charts, or any chart for that matter. One way is to select the data first and then go in. And the second way is to create an empty chart and then add the data to it. And again, we'll be modifying data in charts in the future where that knowledge will become useful. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to learn about the tools in this plus menu, this chart elements menu, so that we can more fully modify our charts to get them looking exactly how we want.